Welcome to First Canada's FTC Sim tutorials. This series is about how to use FTC Sim, a first tech challenge robot simulator created by First Canada. So we've done a series of these, and in each one we're talking about some new section of code that we can do from our menu here off to the side. And today I wanted to take a look at the distance sensor. So you can see under sensors, there's one for distance sensor. So in this particular case, as in past ones, I'm using sleep to do the command that occurs before it goes to the next one. And as we've done already, we have some functions that we've created for ourselves. So we have one big function, the run op mode in simulator. But because it's doing in this one here, as you can see, it's going forward and then it's turning and it's going forward and it's turning and then it's going forward. Because these look like they're about the same distance and the turns are all 90 degrees to the right, we can create these two functions that allow us to do a going forward one that we can repeat once, twice, 3 times, and a turn right one that we can repeat 3 times as well. But just to demonstrate the distance sensor, we're going to change a little bit. We could use the sleep again in here, right? Instead of this loop, we take that out and then have the sleep right here, and then the set power to 0 to stop the motor right after that sleep. But in this particular case, what I've decided to do is I'm going to keep checking the distance sensor that's on the robot to see if it gets to be less than 1.5, meaning it's 1.5, and the distance sensor is pointing forward, by the way. So if it gets less than 1.5 centimeters, and that was through just trial and error, it's going to stop, because the thing it does in this if statement. So that's another thing, I guess, that's new in some of these cases, is that we're going to use a decision structure. So essentially a decision structure is a way for us to have a computer program, in this case the program that's controlling a robot, make a decision. But the decisions all have to be yes and no decisions. And no as a starting teacher, and if you're a teacher now, or if you're trying to teach somebody, even if you're not a teacher, you're a first youth team member, one of the things we're always taught in teaching is don't be answering yes or no questions, because then students will say yes or no. And really, you want them to demonstrate their knowledge or to give a more elaborate answer than that. So, but with a computer and in coding, we can't really do that as easily. So we want to do the reverse. We want to ask questions that only produce yes or no answers. So the question that's being asked here is the distance less than 1.5 centimeters? And if it is, then we're going to do something. If it's not, there's no else or else if here, so it's just going to ignore it. So if we didn't do that, it'll keep stopping all the way and then try to do something all the way. But the reason why we have it in this loop is because we want it to keep checking. As soon as it starts to move forward here, it's going to start to keep checking to see if it's within that range. And once it gets within that range, it's going to stop. And that's what's actually taking place. So we'll reset it and we'll demonstrate. And it makes its turn, and we've done all that stuff before, so that's not a problem, but here's where it stops. Okay, so let's just demonstrate. So if we change this to 5, let's see what happens. So if it's going to get within 5 centimeters, let's take a look and see what takes place here. So you can see it stops much closer, and then the same thing, if we decided that it's going to be less than 1 centimeter, then we'll see that it actually gets further and closer to the flag. As it turns out, I guess actually technically it's closer to the wall. So let's see if we can move this slow. There we can see it's a little bit closer to the wall. Just to demonstrate, we'll reset it and we'll put it back to 1.5, and you can see how much closer it got, 1.5. So there we go again. And remember, when it got here the last time, it was right over top of this line. So let's see. And it doesn't quite get to that line, but it's within the range that the computer wants in order to send us to the next puzzle. Okay, and of course, the next thing we could try is we could say, oh, we're going to try to change this to see if it goes greater than that. So let's see what happens in this particular case. So there we go. Same thing, same thing. It's working exactly the same way. oh. So as soon as it turns here, the sensor picks up this wall, because that's the next command after the turn right. So the turn right, now it's facing forward. It sets the power, and now it starts to check. And it's checking to see if it's too close, if it's within that area. And it says, look, if it's greater than 1.5, then stop. And that's what it does. So obviously, that's one of the other things we're looking at is some of the logical operators, and that's one of them. Okay, so here are some interesting things. Well, they're interesting to me, that you can get your robot to do using a distance sensor. Now, in a lot of the games that the FTC robot competes, there are things that you might want to do during autonomous, which is the first 30 seconds of a match. And some of that is based on how far you are away from something. So you may be shooting something, for example, and the range, when you're exactly, like a meter away from the target, that's your optimal range to shoot from. So you want to use your distance sensor to say, okay, as soon as I get a meter away from this target, I'm going to stop the robot, stop the motors, and I'm going to start to shoot. So you can do multiple things. So here we have it doing one thing, but we can have it do something else here as well, or instead. So that's the other thing. You don't have to have just one command in here. And we'll take a look at some of those things and more the next time we run one of our First Canada FTC Tech Challenge tutorials. And if you do have any questions, if you have anything that you want to know, if you want to find out more about First and First Tech Challenge, or about coding in FTC Sim, you are more than welcome to contact me at pkeenan@firstinspires.org. Thanks, and see you soon.